What's cracking, ladies and gentlemen? FortyeniN coming at you with another community shoutcast for the UGC Dota League Season 2. We're loading into game number 2 of a best of 2 series between Nah Mate and FortyeniN in the Eastern Invite for the Season 2. Nah Mate, off the back of an incredibly impressive performance coming out from Meow on the mid lane Phantom Assassin, were able to completely destroy FortyeniN. Unfortunately, had a bit of difficulty with the optimization of the offlane with the Legion Commander. This time, FortyeniN, they're the ones with first pick, so it will be interesting to see what hero they decide to let through the first pick stage. Also, will be interesting to see if we do actually see a PA ban, a respect ban coming out from FortyeniN, as Meow, as I mentioned before in game number 1, currently the 25th highest ranked PA player in the world, at least according to Dota Buff. Nah Mate, will be interesting to see what they decide to pick up this time, since they're the ones with second pick. And second pick actually does favour the drafter, at least in the early stages of it when the patch is released, just because no one is really too sure what heroes you want to prioritize banning out, especially with A2C, increasing a lot more diversity for picking and banning with the introduction of heroes like Legion Commander and TB into CN. So heroes like Lycanthrope, who have actually been quite heavily nerfed, have now completely switched off the radar. So going from first pick, first ban in every game, to being a fairly ignored. Razor and Titan to ban coming out from FortyeniN, so they really aren't too impressed with the Watermelon or with Razor's effectiveness in every single lane. Does make a fair amount of sense, just because these heroes, while they're not as effective in 8-2 as they were in 8-1, it's just the fact they give you a lot of flexibility, since Tidehunter, not only can you initiate with them, you can also counter-initiate, and that can often be a critical factor, since a lot of teams, especially when they initiate on the enemy, they tend to clump up, and so the counter-initiation ravage is often more dangerous than the actual initiation itself. And so Nah Mate, once again going for the exact same 2 bans, Viper as well as Terrorblade. Not really a big fan of the split push that Terrorblade provides, although in 8-2C he was actually quite heavily nerfed. His illusions now take 140% more damage, I believe, as well as 125% more damage, and the fact that when he metamorphs he now has 290 movement speed compared to the 315 that he usually has. So quite heavy nerfs to the Terrorblade, and the reason why he's picked or banned every game is the fact that he's able to constantly providing split push and presence, and he'll eventually reach the point of critical mass where he just runs over the rest of your team. So Terrorblade, incredibly powerful one position hero if left unchecked, and because he's able to ramp up so quickly, just picking up the Yasha, Tread's Yasha, you can actually jungle a lot more effectively than the anti-mage can, at least until he picks up something like a Battle Fury and Vlad's. Ogre Magi, first pick coming up from Nah Mate. So sticking to their guns will be interesting to see if it's UGTFO playing it once again, or if they decide to switch it up a bit. FortyeniN opening with the Skywrath Mage. The reason why Skywrath Mage is considered to be one of the best support heroes in the current meta, as well as in the prior meta, is the fact that he gives you a lot of flexibility for the drafter. It doesn't give away anything about your draft. You can run Skywrath Mage with a very aggressive dual lane, or you can run him very passively. He provides you either damage or lockdown, since you can always initiate with a concussive shot and then follow up with either the Ancient Seal if you choose to prioritize it, or you could be the one dealing damage. So FortyeniN go with the Skywrath Mage, Centaur Warrunner. Pick up both very powerful heroes, especially in concert, because you've got the Blink Stampede initiation from the Warrunner, follow up with the Ancient Seal for the double edge, absolutely nasty amount of damage, and FortyeniN taking the smarter route, actually choosing to ban out the Omni Knight as opposed to respect banning the PA, because the Omni Knight was the reason why PA was able to snowball under control. But Nah Mate, they've instead decided to pick up Timbersaw, and most likely going to be a mid lane Timbersaw going to be played by Meow, as he's their only Timbersaw player on the team, at least that I'm aware of. Silencer ban now coming out from Nah Mate, as Timbersaw's a hero that doesn't want to go for a BKB unless he absolutely has to, and Silencer forces both the Timbersaw and even the Ogre to consider going for a BKB that game, just because both these heroes without their abilities completely useless, glorified melee creeps, at least until they're able to find something that can purge off the silence. Spectre ban now coming out from FortyeniN, very smart ban, especially from Spectre, as well as Deucer, currently the most powerful hard carries in 8-2, with their ability to be relevant at the early stages of the game. Since Spectre with Treads or Phase, a Bottle and an Urn of Shadows can actually provide a massive amount of ganking pressure across the map. Urn of Shadows effectively provides as a Ghetto Vanguard, since every time you get a kill, you translate it into 400 HP for yourself. And especially with the fact that Urn of Shadows now deals pure damage as opposed to HP removal, much more potent ganking ability, especially in concert with the Desolate damage. And with the fact that the dagger coming out from the Spectre has been slightly buffed in terms of movement speed, I believe it's 4% faster at level 1. So now we've got a Faceless Void ban coming out from Nah Mate. So even though Tiny Tiger wasn't really too much of a factor in the last game just because of how durable Nah Mate's lineup was, Still don't want to deal with it just because Tiny Tiger did land a few fantastic chronospheres on multiple heroes. It was just the rest of the team weren't really able to capitalize too effectively. Yeah, nah, mate, starting to deliberate on their third pick. They've already picked up what could be either a mid or an offlane. That's the advantage of the Timbersaw. You could run it in both. The only drawback in the Timbersaw is you don't really want to run him 1v3. He tapers off incredibly quickly. Just because you have to get a good early game start. Much like the Centaur Warrunner, you want to make sure that they're in the solo lane, or at least in the lane where they can find some kind of farm. Centaur can go 1v3 in a pinch, just because he's so tanky, and just because he really needs level 6 to be effective. Whereas Timbersaw, he needs levels and farm to be relevant in the game. They're both offlane heroes in the 1v3 situation, can be shut down quite easily, since there's nothing they can do to prevent you from diving. Centaur at least can go for the hoof stomp, but Timbersaw, he can't prevent you from diving on him. He can at best try to timber chain himself to safety, and maybe try to go for a trade with the Whirling Death. Yeah, nah, mate, really dipping into their reserve time for their third pickup. They might opt to pick up another support hero now, just to firm up their lanes, or they could actually look to deliberate a bit. So they picked up a Jakiro. Jakiro used to be run as a core position role, still is actually run as a core position, so it's a leftover of the 8-1 Deathball Mater. Very powerful in that sense. If you're able to find an early Yule Scepter up on the Jakiro, Yules them up into the air, drop down Macropire, Ice Path them, you're getting more DPS from that combination alone than you would from a lot of other heroes. Just the fact that they're stuck in the Macropire for at least 4 seconds, you've got the 2 seconds from the Ice Path, as well as the Snare coming in. Usually does do enough damage for you to be able to go for a kill. The advantage of the Jakiro is it provides you an absolutely obscene amount of pushing power. This is something that MVP picks were the first team to really experiment with. Jakiro's Liquid Fire is absolutely nuts, just because of how easily you can spam it out. The fact that it cuts the attack speed of the tower in half. And so it means a creep wave is going to take twice as long to bring down, and the chip damage you deal from it, Jakiro could actually knock down all of your towers in the first 20 minutes, especially if you've got a very powerful early game lineup. Although with the nerf to the emphasis on pushing towers, Jakiro, you still do see him run as a core position, just because he can actually do a fair amount of work with farm, but he also does have the flexibility of operating as a 5, especially in this case because you've got the setup for the Ogre Magi. So Magi initiates with the Ignite to set up the Ice Path from Jakiro, then once the Ice Path wears off you follow up with the Fire Blast, or if Ogre can close the distance in time, you Fire Blast. But ideally you want to follow with Ignite just because it has a much longer range, and because it has a much more lower cast point, so it's much more difficult to get fogged when you're using Ignite compared to using Fire Blast. But of course, if you happen to get in range without them noticing, or if you can jump them a lot earlier, so if you've got a mobility item like a 4-star or a Blink Dagger, then naturally the opening of the Fire Blast is going to be a lot more effective. And AllCan, they've decided to pick up an Enigma. And so the Enigma pickup provides them the macro advantage in the same sense as Glitch, just because Enigma is hands down the fastest jungling hero in the game. The only hero that can really try to rival the Enigma in the jungle is going to be the Lycanthrope. And even then, there's a fair amount of luck involved. Enigma, much more reliable as a jungling hero, and provides you an obscene amount of teamfight. And in this case, you've got the Blink Initiation coming in from the Centaur, so Enigma probably doesn't need to go for a Blink, and probably doesn't want to go for a Blink. You'd be much better off if you went from early mech into a BKB, because you've got not only the Stampede to position yourself, but also the Centaur that's going to be jumping on them. And so in that case, Enigma's there more to firm up their teamfight. They don't need any huge black holes coming up from him. If they get a mediocre black hole and 1 or 2 heroes, that's going to be enough for them to be able to turn the tide, because you've got the Hoof Stomp to set up the Mystic Flare, and as well as the black hole. And the real strength of the Enigma is the fact that you've got the Midnight Pulse. And so it provides a massive amount of area denial, especially if they decide to push, or especially if they've got to line up a very slow hero, so the Ogre and the Jakiro, very slow and very suspectable, so the Enigma can actually take him off quite easily using Malefice and the Midnight Pulse. Of course, the drawback of the Enigma pickup for AllCan is it weakens the crap out of your lane. So you've got a jungling hero, so you're going to be running 2+1 at most. And yeah, no, mate, actually going with the Tuskar pick, so a bit of an unconventional pickup coming out from them, because they know that the best way to deal with Enigma is to be to shut him down when he's in the jungle, or to punish his lanes so that they fall apart. There's going to be 2v3. And Skywrath Mage, while a very powerful support hero, he can't tangle against both the Ogre and the Jakiro at the same time. Very few heroes really can. And AllCan actually showing their hand a bit too early. They pick up the Templar Assassin, so they might be assuming that the Tempestor is going to be in the mid lane. Since Templar Assassin, you never want to draft her unless you know you can completely dominate your lane. You want to send her mid, or in a 1v1 matchup, just because she does taper off very quickly. You want to guarantee that she's able to find a lot of farm in the first 20 minutes and control the lane, because otherwise she tapers off exceptionally quickly. She's a hero that's entirely dependent on snowballing, and the strength that she has is the fact that she's one of the best 1v1 lanes in the game in certain matchups. So for instance, against a hero like a Puck, Templar Assassin completely destroys him. or her rather, just because you use the refract damage to prioritize on denies, and once you get sideblades, you use the spill damage to actually go for last hits. So you prioritize denies just because you can deny and last hit and harass them at the same time if you're good enough with your angling. And when you deny them enough that you get the level advantage, you can jump on them before they can jump on you. You start snowballing control, especially if you get a good rune, so it haste or double damage. And then you become an absolute nightmare for the team to be able to deal with. And you get so big so fast, they can't respond. FortyeniN now starting to deliberate on their 5th ban. So far, Mate's lineup actually has thrown them for a bit of a loop. They're not really too sure what position the Jakiro or the Tuskar are going to be running, since both Jakiro and Tuskar, you can run them as a core, but you could also run them as a support. Tuskar actually has been switched around a bit in the latest patch. Is Ice Shards rather, now pop exactly where you click it with the mouse, as opposed to when they first make contact with the hero. And so it does open up a lot more strategies with the Tuskar. It's now essentially a range fissure you can use to block people in. And so Tuskar does make a lot of sense with the Jakiro. If you catch him out the Ice Shard, Jakiro then lands an easy Ice Path, drop the Macro Pyre or the Dual Breath on top of that, you have enough time just beating on the target, and they should be able to pop from that damage alone. And mate, actually going a bit cocky, they started to pick up a Queen of Pain. So Queen of Pain beat Templar Assassin. The Templar Assassin on paper should win, because you've got more damage from the refraction, so you can use that to deny. But that being said, Queen of Pain, with the dot damage coming up from the Shadow Strike, has an easy way to remove instances of the refraction, and this is the reason why a lot of mid heroes taper off against the Templar, is they don't have a reliable way to break these instances. And if you can't break the defensive instances of the refraction, Templar Assassin can just dive you. She doesn't really give a damn about trading hits with you, because she can trade a lot more effectively. So it will be interesting to see how they decide to lane this. Usually would be Timbersaw being playing the mid lane, played by Meow, but in this case they can actually decide to switch it up. So we could be seeing what looks like a tri-lane coming out with the Tuskar, Jakiro, and the Ogre, with either the... Actually, all 3 of these heroes can function as a core hero, so there's a lot of flexibility with Yanna's lineup. Really does boil down to what player decides to play him. Queen of Pain most likely going to be mid. Unlike the Death Prophet, you really can't run her in a tri-lane. She needs levels too heavily in order for her to be relevant in the early stages of the game. And you don't really want to run her in the side lane because she's so heavily dependent on rune control. So Queen of Pain, a hero that has been quite subtly buffed in the last few patches, with the fact that you're now guaranteed a rune every 2 minutes, really has pushed her from the somewhat mediocre range into a much more powerful hero, because she now has a lot more mana to work with, as well as the subtle buffs to the Shadow Strike. So I believe the range has increased and the damage has been increased by a bit. And so we are going to be seeing a 1-position Tuskar, or at least a farming position Tuskar, as Ken Killer, who usually plays the 1 or the 2, going to be picking up the Tuskar. And the real Broder going to be playing the Ogre, so we're going to be seeing a tri-lane Tusk with the Ogre and the Jakiro, and what looks like an off-lane Timbersaw going to be played by UGTFO, with the mid-lane Queen of Pain. And FortyeniN have also opted to pick up the Sand King, so very interesting lanes coming up from that. Usually when you pick up a hero like a Sand King, you use him in the same sense you use a Crystal Maiden. You want to make good use of the jungle. That's the reason why they're so effective, is if you're able to find a very early Blink Dagger on the Sand King, you can use that to function as your team's primary initiator. So you no longer have to draft a heavy initiation hero. Of course, the drawback of it is, like the Enigma, it weakens your lanes. But looks like Highfish is actually going to be an off-lane Enigma, since he's picked up Boots as well as Tangos. So if you're jungling, you usually want to go for Sobi Mask, and 2, Clarity is the most efficient build for the Enigma, because it lets you transition to your Soul Ring very quickly, while also being able to pick up support items for the rest of your team if need be. Angel will Boots first. This is the other inherent weakness of the Sand King, is he's a very greedy support hero. You want to ideally start with Boots on Sand King, just because his level 1 Burrow Strike is such a low range, that without Boots you're not going to be at a closer distance in time. Ace looks like he accidentally popped the Clarity at the start. So Skywrath Mage and Sand King work exceptionally well, because Lance can afford to buy all the support items, and leave Angel to pick up Boots maybe instead of Tangos. While they say that, Smoke Rotation is 5. Snowball immediately flying out. They're going over on Lance. They hit him. They might actually be able to get this kill very early on. Meow hasn't skilled anything. Could have actually skilled a Shadow Strike that would have guaranteed a kill. He instead goes for Blink. Throws out one more right click. It's going to be enough. Tiny Tiger, no mana available, so he's forced to back off. So we are going to be seeing what looks like a tri-lane Centaur Warrunner. And very interesting skill build coming out from Meow. If he'd skilled up Shadow Strike, that would have guaranteed the kill without him losing half his life points. And you usually want Shadow Strike at 1 against a Templar Assassin, so you can immediately start breaking off the refraction charges, so you can bully around the lane. But all in all, the fact that they were able to find First Blood, and the fact that Meow now picks up a regen rune, nothing lost and a lot of things gained. So Sentry Wards also been given to him by, I believe it was Cox. So that's to ensure that Templar Assassin can't meld dodge the Shadow Strike. So it's the number 1 way Templar Assassin can win the lane against the Queen of Pain, outside of just the sheer lane control you get. But since you could use Meld to be able to disjoint the Shadow Strike, it has an incredibly huge cast point and a fairly slow projectile speed, so it's very easy to dodge. But otherwise, uncontested, Zhao should be able to completely dominate Meow in this mid lane. And we see this already. 2 for 1 compared to Meow, who even though he got first blood, not going to be finding farm anytime soon. It's very difficult for the Queen of Pain to contest against the Templar Assassin, so very interesting decision making coming up from Broder to draft this. Over in the offlane, Ken eats custom shot to the face. Dual Breath flies up. So Cox opting not to go for the Liquid Fire. At 1, Dual Breath at 1 actually does provide you a lot more harassment capability. With Liquid Fire, the first point isn't too effective, and in this case, because you try, you want to go for Dual Breath into the Ice Path as soon as possible to provide you a lot more kill power. Centaur Warrior, a very powerful tri-lane hero in the sense that he gives you a lot of damage and once you pick up level 2, but of course the weakness of the Centaur is the more heroes there are in the mix, the difficult it is for you to be a closer distance. Since he's a hero that's got a melee range stun, and Sand King for all intents and purposes going to be considered a short range hero as well, at least until he picks up level 2, level 3 Burrow Strike. Difficult for Ace to really try to engage on the tri-lane of Yaname. While I say that, over in the offlane, UGTFO going to be having a bit of a difficult time against High Fish just because he could constantly poke and prod him, so this is the power of the Enigma in a 1v1 offlane. So the biggest weakness of the Enigma is the fact that he weakens your lanes. So running him as a solo offlane, especially if you happen to get a 1v1 matchup, does make a huge amount of sense and it does alleviate the load, similar to the Invoker going cross Exhaust Quad, as opposed to going for cross Wex, just because it gives you much stronger lanes. Meow, utilizing 2 points of the Shadow Strike to really harass the crap out of Zhao. And so while on paper, Zhao has more base damage and has more mechanics to control the lane, 2 points in Shadow Strike are really doing a number on him. Especially since Meow is able to maintain rune control, so both runes going in favor of Yaname, and Zhao forced the Bottle Crow. And this is how Meow can try to control the lane. He's just going to harass him out, so in the same sense that Cross Wex Invoker wins the lane, just by harassing them out with the right clicks damage as well as the potential harassment coming up from Coltonap. Meow might want to actually commit a sentry if he wants to continue to throw out the Shadow Strike, because Zhao's got the point of Meld available to try to disjoint. Going to be able to use that to try to keep himself alive. Meow, actually animation cancelling provide a bit more pressure. While I say that, Cox actually does find a kill, but they are going in for King Killer. King Killer keeping himself alive, and now he's actually salving. If he traps him with that bottleneck, Angel could be taking death. He's actually got no mana, and King Killer turns. He's not smacking him. He's got the Ice Shards available as well. Angel Burrow Strikes out, actually catches out Yaname instead. Ice Shards finishes him off with Broder. They're now stuck in place. The Tiny Tiger says, "Welcome to the Thunderdome." Stop smacking away, catches out Broder. But Cox and King Killer are able to bring him down. So right-click war happening, going in favor of Yaname. Once again, they're coming out the receiving end of the trade. So a huge amount of gold and experience going in their hands. And the greed of the Sand King really is being punished. They are looking to go for a kill on King Killer. Speaking of greedy, got a little bit too greedy himself. They did catch him out with that Burrow Strike. It's going to be enough. Unfortunately, the Fire Blast not going to be enough to be able to lock down Angels. They did get off that Burrow Strike. And King Killer, huge misplay coming out from him. Just got a little bit too greedy. And Tiny Tiger might look to force the issue a little bit more, but he opted for an early point and return. And this is something I disagree with. You can't afford to squander a skill point as a tri-lane Centaur Warrior. The point in return isn't going to be worthwhile at all. Just because you need the burst damage to be able to really win this matchup, especially tri-v-tri. Having the point in return doesn't really give you that extra damage you would have gone on your double-edged. You really need to be able to find these kills. Especially since Tuskar and the Ogre are incredibly durable. You want to have as much burst damage as possible to try to kill them. But that being said, the advantage of the return was double-edged does deal the damage to yourself, so you really want to, if you can't kill them, it puts you in a bad position. Zhao actually might be taking death as Meow runs him down. Refraction's going to be burning off very quickly. Secondary Shadow Strike flying, one more right click, and that's going to be enough to kill Zhao. No. There we go, Zhao. If he had a bottle charge, he could have actually taken a sip of his bottle in between ticks of damage, since every 3 seconds. So it's conveniently timed enough for you to be the bottle charge in between them, but out of bottle charges, and Meow just runs him down. So this matchup, which I said in a vacuum, and Templar Assassin should quite handily win. Looks like Meow's proving me wrong. So really utilizing this change to the Shadow Strike, to the buff to that, as well as the fact that he's been picking up every single rune every 2 minutes on the dot. Tiny Tiger eats a snowball to the face. King Killer still got the Ice Shard, so Tiny Tiger, no way he's making it out of there. Trapped in and beaten down, the rest of his team aren't anywhere near him. And this is the weakness of the Sand King. Angel, now stuck stacking and farming up camps. He's now decided to completely abandon ship. He knows that the only way they can recover now, because they're so far behind in terms of kills, is for him to be the final Blink Taker early on. Because Tiny Tiger, he's not going to be finding it anytime soon, especially with the pressure being applied by Yaname and Broder. Looks like he's opting to go for a much more effective Ogre Magi build, the second point Ignite earlier on. Cox Now he's going for the Liquid Fire, and this is the power of the Jakiro, whether in a core position role or in an offlane or in a support role. It's the fact that you can constantly just keep throwing Liquid Fire at the tower, especially if you're the aggressive tri lane. At Ace, they don't really have any way to be the shutdown pushes. Angel, once he gets a few points in the Sandstorm, he could try. But Sentry is available, as well as the AoE starting coming up the Ice Path. Very difficult to do so. They're going in over and King Killer with the concussive shot, but Real Brother's there to immediately try to zone them out, to try to commit. Tiny Tiger playing actually a bit too far forward. He's got to be very careful. They could have chosen to turn on them there, especially with the Ice Shards to provide that extra amount of time for them to be able to beat down the target, just because it prevents them from being able to make it back to the safety of their tower. UGTFO actually leashes back the creep wave and is going to guard the rune. Bounty rune, actually he might have to pick it up so Zhao doesn't get it. There we go. Bodyguards are from Meow, so Meow off to a great start. Will be interesting to see what item Queen of Pain decides to go for. Usually, in the few games I've seen Queen of Pain picked up, you want to build in a similar sense to the Storm Spirits. You want to go for something like an Orchid Leveled early on, or a BKB to provide yourself a lot more sustain if they happen to have a disabled heavy lineup. Otherwise, if you get a really good start, it actually is worthwhile to go for something like a Dagon very early on the Queen of Pain, because it lets you instantly start a fight 4v5. You jump on somebody like the Skywrath Mage, you pop him instantly. You throw out the Screen of Pain as well as the Dagon, it's going to immediately kill the Skywrath Mage, or you could even follow up with the Sonic Wave if need be to go for one of their core heroes. And that gives you enough momentum that the rest of your team can take that fight. Since you could always disengage and then re-engage, of course the drawback of that, Skywrath Mage can Ancient Seal you. And Ancient Seal, well speaking of which, Broda caught out with it, can't follow up with the Fire Blast. Sonic Wave actually comes from Meow, and Angel sitting there in the Sandstorm, the Sentry wants to immediately drop him, he gets dual breath down. Good rotation coming up from Meow, that Sonic Wave really securing the kill. Another thing I forgot to realize, the Sonic Wave, they actually did buff the radius of it, so now has a much wider cone. High Fish, duking it out with UGTFO, throws out the Black Hole. What's a Desperation Black Hole? It's not going to have enough damage for me to kill him, especially with the Timber Chain available and no way to interrupt it. It's the Malefice. Was on cooldown, no mana available. And interesting note, High Fish actually went for Arcane Boots. Usually on an Enigma, Solar Ring's all you need for the early stages of the game. You need to get your mech early on in order for you to be relevant for the rest of your team. So you usually see Naked Boots on Enigma for the vast stage of the game, just because you don't really need the Arcane Boots for your own mana needs, although you might now with the fact that mech now costs a lot more mana. But if you're going from Arcane Boots early on, it's because the rest of your team needs that mana because you're grouping up to fight and pushing. So once again, High Fish, slight inefficiency in his build, could turn to bite him in the ass, especially because his team needs that mech if they want to take these engagements. Because yeah, nah mate, they're not going to be going for a mech anytime soon. King Killer, calling the Who's-Stomp, the Concussive Shot, the Ancient Seal, the Double Edge, this is the combination we're talking about. It could be taking a death. He's got Snowball, and that buys him, I believe, 6 seconds of time. So that means that Cox can follow with the Ice Path, and actually might be able to turn this, even if they do lose him. And Angel's going to be incredibly careful. Brother, Fire Blast is not going to be enough damage, because he opted to go for an early point in the Bloodlust, but Meow, he's on the hunt, no Sonic Wave available, he could go for a kill over on Tiny Tiger. Tiny Tiger went for the Hoof Stomp, dies to the Scream of Pain. Zhao caught him with the Fire Blast. Broda tanks the Concussive Shot, so Cox doesn't have to eat it. Standing his ground, he's got 7 armor. He eventually dies to Zhao, but he buys him enough time that Meow can actually go for a kill. Zhao, he can't sit there and meld because the Sentry Ward is there. A very aggressive ward being placed by Cox, and shows like a spot in TP rotations. And by the time Tiny Tiger returns, while I say that, UGTFO does actually take a fall to High Fish, so High Fish is able to stand his ground and duke him out. So that's the power of the maxed out Malefice build. He's actually been going. Forgot to mention that earlier. Cox could be taking a death. Tiny Tiger can choose to commit with Double Edge. He does so. And King Killer, no point up yet in the Walrus Punch. If he had it, could have chosen to turn around, maybe go for a kill attempt to Tiny Tiger. So Tiny Tiger finally able to find a retaliatory kill, but that being said, he's very far behind off his Blink Dagger. Usually you want to find it by the 13-minute mark. At the rate that he's been farming, he's not going to be finding it for another 5 minutes. At the earliest, so 14 to 15 minutes. Of course, if he takes another death, or if he loses his tower, it's going to set it back by about another minute or so. And because he's going to be the primary form of initiation, just because of Sand King, nowhere near his Blink Dagger as well. So now Angel, he's sitting there in the jungle, listening to some Darude, trying to kill off some creeps and farm his Blink Dagger. If you did that from the start, so if they're able to find a successful First Blood, using the boots first Sand King, so he's able to pick up level 2, level 3, they could have had it by the 8-9 minute mark. But because they were set back, this is the weakness of the Sand King. If your plan gets set back because you don't get First Blood, or if they're able to find kills on your tri-lane, he becomes dead weight very quickly, just because the level 1 Burrow Strike is too short of a range for you to really reliably initiate. Unless you go for boots first, and by going boots first, you weaken your other support hero, because they're forced to pick up slack. Well, in this case, he actually went for no regen at all, because he picked up the wards as well. It's interesting to note that Zhao going to go for phase boots, so he usually see, in terms of cost effectiveness, in terms of overall DPS, Tread's Drum provides you a lot more damage than Phase into Drum. Phase Boots, bit of a player preference item. Both Treads and Phase are effective. Phase into Drum over in the TA gives you a lot more aggressive early game potential, whereas the new school build, which is either Treads into Drum or Treads into Yasha, provides you a lot more late game potential, as well as more carry potential. King Killer, no snowball this time. Ice Path does catch out too, but way too far out of position with the rest of his team not there. And Kenny's got the Walrus Punch available. It looks like he's going to be the one going Phase into Drum, so fairly standard build order for the Tuskar. Will be interesting to see if him or his support decide to pick up Medallion of Courage, just because it really does amplify the damage coming out from that Walrus Punch. And Real Broder, choosing to commit, at least to provide a bit of assistance. And so the weakness of this build is you're not going to get as much burst damage, because you want to have the Fire Blast maxed out by level 7, since you've got the near guaranteed proc with the multicast. But of course, since Fire Blast, in this case, because he's going to be level staffed, he's using it more for the lockdown than for the damage. And the early point in Bloodlust is going to provide you a lot more overall DPS, especially if you could use it on one of your right-clicking heroes, so like Kin or Miel with the right clicks coming up from Queen of Pain. UGTFO completely whiffs the Chakram, Fire Blast being committed as well. They can actually stand his ground with the Black Hole. The King Killer cleans him up with the Ice Shards before he had a chance. Could have actually been a huge window for High Fish to be able to turn that, especially since he had the Midnight Pulse drop and the rest of his team sitting there with TPs at the ready. As I say that, only Lance has a TP. So much like any student flight, always carry TP. Tiny Tiger, 400 gold off that Blink Tiger, so if he's able to continue being unmolested and playing able to find some free farm, should be able to find it by the 13/14 minute mark, which will let him start to create space for his team. With the tower going in favor of mate, more farm going in favor of UGTFO, things are looking fairly grim. UGTFO going straight for the Bloodstone. Another reason why Timbersaw has been quite heavily buffed in this patch is not only the items have to upgrade, but the build order for the Bloodstone. So Timbersaw, he's a fantastic Soul Ring carrier because he's got the reactive armor to provide all the HP regen he needs. And having that instant burst of mana can mean the difference between a kill or not a kill. Got that Chakram. He's committing for a kill from Mal, he instantly just blinks out and says, sorry mate, yeah, no. You wanted it, you're not going to get it. He's going for the Orchid Malevolence. He's not going for as much of a YOLO build as I would have expected, but the Orchid, much like on the Storm Spirit, provides you fantastic pick-off power. The biggest strength of the Queen of Pain is she actually transitions very well into a late game carry, just because she's got great stat growth for Agi, and she's got a fantastic range. So if she does get enough farm, she actually can transition into another core hero for the rest of your team. But most likely, you want to place pressure early on the Queen of Pain, because you want to draft the Queen of Pain when you know they've got supports that will die with one rotation of your combo, so the Sonic Wave as well as the Scream of Pain. And Lance, he's going to be that hero. Although if Lance is quick with his fingers, he can actually instantly silence the Queen of Pain before she can get her abilities off, and in that case the Queen of Pain is a sitting duck. Ace walks into the smoke rotation, eats a snowball as well as the Fire Blast, and instantly explodes. King Killer still hasn't a chance to use that Walrus Punch. Not going to be too happy with that. Looks like he's going to be prioritizing the snowball. And Angel, he's got the FPS Center available. He's 50 gold shy of his Blink Dagger. He really cannot afford to die. He might actually just passively wait on Tick Gold to be able to finish his Blink Daggers. He cannot afford to get delayed any further. Broder, a bit late with that ward there. If they placed that earlier, they could have prevented him from even go for the block offs. But by pressuring the Tier 1 in the mid lane, they're going to open up the map a lot more. High Fish throws out the Midnight Pulse, actually a bit conservative with that Midnight Pulse. Snowball's being used, but Black Hole's been completely mitigated. King Killer turns around the Walrus Punch. He's going to be eating the epicenter coming out from Angel. Never mind, doesn't have enough mana for a Sonic Wave flies through, cleans up 2. Angel's just sitting there listening to Daru while the rest of the team gets torn apart. Zhao, no Sentry Ward available this time. There we go, Dust is finally used. He gets popped with the Fire Blast. Meow throws out a few more right clicks. Dot damage from the Liquid Fire is going to be enough to be able to break it. And they then go instead over on Angel. Angel, no mana for the Burrow Strike. Sitting there in the Sandstorm, but the Chakram flies to UGTFO. And they're able to find a kill on Kin, but Kin, great reflexes with that snowball. The biggest strength of the Tuskar, at least with the change to the snowball, is his merits as a counter-initiation hero. Meow, call it the Hoostomp, double edge, gonna be enough damage to bring him down. And Tiny Tiger, showing off that Blink Dagger, ends a huge spree. King Killer, following with the snowball, he wants to get that kill, he has to make him pay. He avenges his fallen comrade, with Fisting Centaur, brings him down. It will be interesting to see what King Killer decides to go for next. But all in all, from that one kill, we've got a 1200 change in EXP. And so Mule, or Meow rather, big fat stack of cash. And the Centaur's able to claim that before he dies, and since it's reliable gold, doesn't actually take too big of a loss. Looks like he's going to the Pipe of Insight. And High Fish, he's now going in for the mech. But because he went for the Arcane Boots, if he hadn't gone for the Arcane Boots, he actually would have had his mech by now. And that could have actually been a turning point in these early engagements. Also interesting to note, he's actually only got 2 points in Demonic Conversion, so he's prioritizing the Midnight Pulse more. And so this is more of a team fighting build, and Broda immediately the ward spots him out. And we've got a disconnect coming up from Highfish. And so the reason why you usually want to max out Demonic Conversion, even if you are going to be ganking and fighting early on, is you get more damage from the Demonic Conversion than you would from maxing out the Malefice, and it gives you more pushing power. So once you take a fight, you take a tower, in the same vein of the Nature's Prophet. But of course, the advantage of it in this case, it provides you a lot more solo killing power, so he was able to use it to great effect against UGTFO in the lane. Since the Malefice damages magic, and it's actually one of the best CC abilities in the game, especially if they've got no magic immunity such as the BKB to try to break it at mid-cast. The double blink coming out from Ace, they now have the initiation advantage over Yaname. Yaname at this point, their only form of initiation is going to be Snowball coming in from Kin, with maybe the Ice Shard to be able to follow it up. Because they don't have any such way to really be able to jump on Ace, well Ace they could choose to engage at whim with the Sand King as well as the Centaur Warren as a Stampede. They're going to have to rely on counter initiation, so they have to prioritize Kin. If they don't catch out Kin with their initiation, he can immediately Snowball, pull in the rest of his teammates, buy them time for them to be able to respond, and then Snowball into the Enigma to stop him from being a channel black hole. So that's the power of the Tuskar, similar to a Naga Siren, that he provides you the ability to be able to reset a fight, only in this case they actually waste their abilities for very little gain. Smoke rotation going to be completely fruitless, as Yaname, they back off. Actually, never mind, they decided to commit to it. Broda wards, Dust up on him, and Tiny Tiger, he's going to be the one moving into killing ranges. UGTFO spouts him out. Hoofstomp actually flies out a bit prematurely, a bit of a misclick coming up from him. Maybe he thought they'd blink on top of him. Custom Shot flies over UGTFO. He's got to be careful. Ancient Seal as well as the Mystic Flare being used. Stampede's not being used, and Angel should be able to clean him up. Ice Path actually catches out too, prevents Highfish from getting committed with the Black Hole. Tiny Tiger, standing the entire enemy team, brings down Cox. Real Broda as well, getting cleaned up by Zhao. And huge tempo swing now going in favor of Ace. King Killer pops a drum charge. Fleeing for his left, the Sigil provides some covering fire. And Meow, a bit late to the party. He's also backing himself off. King Killer looks like he's actually going to be going for what looks like a Desolator build. Otherwise, if he was going for a BKB, he would start with the Ogre Club. Although he still can double back and go for a BKB if need be, which might actually be the much more prudent item choice. Of course, the burst damage potential coming out from the Desolator, since it applies negative armor before you deal any form of damage. So if you use it with the Walrus Punch, I believe it actually reduces armor and then it applies the Walrus Punch damage. So it lets you effectively two-shot a lot of the supports. The huge tempo swing now going in favor of Ace from that kill, so we see that massive dip just coming in from that one engagement in terms of experience, as well as in terms of gold. So while it still is in favor of Yaname, Ace now have to superior initiation, and once that mech comes online, they'll have to superior team fight. Angel, orchid it up, killed by the Chakram, and Meow looks like he got the last hit with this Wave of Pain. With the Screen of Pain, sorry. Experience, starting to go in favor of Yaname once again with that trade, and the biggest strength of the Jakiro, especially if you're running him in that non-core position role, is just with a maxed out Liquid Fire, he's able to do so much in these engagements. But that's the Midnight Pulse doing a fair amount of work. Delays the push, makes it very risky for them to commit, because you're losing a percentage of your HP every time you sit in it. Zhao, looks like he has picked up Phase into Drums, so he's going for a fairly conventional TA build. Again though, he's hiding the wings, he's got the Snowball available, he doesn't want to yellow in with the rest of his team, unless if he could catch out the Enigma, but the Creep scouts him, so they know he's going to be sitting there in the wings. And Zhao, so far he's going to be their frontline hero, because he knows that they could re-engage, or counter-initiate with Angel and Tiny Tiger both having Blink Daggers. And Centaur, he's now finished his Hood of Defiance, so it's going to provide a lot more survivability. Hood and Pipe are so critical in the Centaur because it also reduces the amount of damage you take from your own double edge, so it means that you get another free double edge in a fight. Tiny Tiger can choose to actually jump on Cox if he really wanted to, especially with Angel hiding in the wings as well. Would actually be a lot more effective to let Angel initiate, just because you could Hoofstomp with a much higher cast point and the Bar Strike, which is instant. And so it provides an even less window of opportunity to get out of range, especially if you're jumping on someone like Kint, so you can snowball, and so you can reactively snowball if you decide to go for the Hoofstomp and then choose to re-engage with the rest of his team there. And Zhao probably wants to be going for a BKB as soon as possible. This is the biggest strength and the weakness of the Timbersaw. He forces the enemy cores to go for a BKB, but once you do pick up a BKB, Timbersaw can't really do anything. All of his damage is entirely magic based, or pure damage based rather. And so once the TA is able to pick up the BKB, she can actually do very well against the Timbersaw. She's got ways to remove his armor, which Timbersaw is so heavily dependent on. UGTFO is actually very close to his Soul Ring, And once that comes online, he might look to transition to something like an Agnum Scepter to really utilize his damage, to maximize his damage output. Or if he decides to play a bit more defensively, maybe something like Shiva's Guard. Or even a BKB, so he doesn't have to deal with the crowd control coming up from Ace. But Meow, definitely going to be going for a BKB now. The biggest weakness of the Queen of Pain is she's very fragile and very susceptible to CC. It's King Killer once again, counter-initiating like a champ. Epicenter's going to fly though, and they are actually able to buy enough time for him to get a retaliatory kill over on Lance. Rotor takes a fall, looks like Angel's the one that took that death. Tiny Tiger sitting there in the Macro Pyro, UGTFO, he's just able to zip on out. He's got a TD scroll available, so they do trade 1 for 1, support for support, and Meow on the hunt. Tiny Tiger, he's got a Blink Dagger available. And Zhao trying to go for the Sigil, does provide a fair amount of gold. Fortunately not able to trap in Zhao. And Meow a bit late to the party. While UGTFO continue to run rings over Lance, he's actually a bit too far to position now, pulling with the Ancient Seal. And Zhao cuts him down, not too sure what he was doing that far to position, especially with the rest of Ace hanging around. And with that kill going in, the second kill going into Ace's hands, significant shift in terms of experience. And this is why the new patch emphasizes teamfight engagement so much more, as you get a lot more EXP and gold bounty if you're with multiple heroes compared to just on your own. And also means that if you do happen to throw or happen to get called out of position, especially when you're ahead, really does set you back quite heavily. So now we've got the Pipe of Insight almost completed, or at least should be almost completed for the Centaur War Runner. Looks like he's just got the hood for now. Real Broder. Two stacks of dust actually available for him. And he's actually doubling back to go for the Ignite. So he realizes he's not going to get the levels to get level 2, level 3 multicast in a reasonable amount of time. And in that case, maxing out Ignite will actually give you more overall DPS than maxing out the Fire Blast. And the Fire Blast in this case is there more for control than for damage. Because yeah, no mate, while they were so far ahead, their lineup actually does taper off significantly. King Killer snowballing a creep just to find some farm. So bank was made. Looks like he has actually decided to go for a BKB. It's a much more sensible pickup than the YOLO Desolator. Real Broder hanging in the wings, spots out Zhao, can use the Ignite as an easy way to be able to control the Templar by breaking her refraction charges, but the Midnight Pulse is there. And it makes it so difficult for them to engage. Yeah, nah mate, they should really wait until they get BKBs before they decide to engage into Ace, just because they know that they're going to have to spare initiation. Tiny Tiger catches out too, goes for the double edge over Meow. Meow instantly gets caught up with a Black Hole as well as the Bar Strike. It's going to be enough to be able to bring him down. Snowball too late over on High Fish. Mystic Fly flies over on Tiny Tiger as well as UGTFO. Tiny Tiger actually burning inside the Macro Pyre, but they should actually be able to make it on out. And Broder gets cut down by Zhao and the throws are real. Cox defensive fire provided with that Ice Path. But all in all, fantastic initiation coming out from Ace, and this is the weakness of Yanamate's lineup. They have no reliable initiation, at least until Real Broder is able to pick up a Blink Dagger. It's Ace with a double Blink Dagger combination for both Centaur and the Sand King. They're always going to be able to get the jump on you. So you can't afford to take engagements until you get BKBs. Because once the BKBs comes online, then you can walk into their initiation and take them down. Because they're so heavily dependent on their crowd control abilities to try to lock down heroes, especially like the Queen of Pain. It's Templar Assassins, their only real form of physical DPS at this point. Whereas, yeah, nah, mate, they've got both the Queen of Pain and King Killer to be their output DPS. With UGTFO as well, especially since they're nowhere near BKBs at this point. But once the BKB comes online for the Templar Assassin, it becomes very difficult for them to recover. So I was talking about earlier in the draft how Templar Assassin is the hero you pick if you know you're going to win your lane. And the reason for that is because she can snowball their control and just completely destroy their backline heroes. She just runs at them and can two-shot them with the meld as well as refraction damage. If she's able to find enough farm to either pick up something in an early crit, or if she can pick up an early BKB, so there's nothing they can do. But in this case, because Yana mate did throw a significant amount of golden experience into Ace's hands, and now they've actually lost the teamfight advantage they had before, at least until the second BKB comes online, it's going to be difficult for them to try to recover, because their lineup's so dependent on snowballing early on. Pun not intended. King Killer actually going to be a bit too far out of position now. He pops that BKB preventively to try to keep himself alive as he waits out the entire epicenter. Real Brother now goes in with the bar strike on 2. Angel sitting there inside the Macropie listening to some Darude. Meow, dust is being used and he should be taking a fall. King Killer kept himself alive with that BKB charge. Sonic Wave actually completely disjointed by Zhao. Meow almost dies to that. Brother actually died to the spillover damage. Snowball comes in once again from King Killer. He does punch down. Looks like the Skyred Mage and High Fish. Black Hole, not available. So even then, they're able to try quite decisively trade in this engagement. Tiny Tiger goes in. UGTFO does clean him up though. And Tiny Tiger's got to be very careful now. If the Chakram landed from UGTFO, that would have been another kill. Looks like the Ice Shards is there in place. But does catch him on the wrong side. He's going to be able to blink out before the Snowball catches him. And King Killer, he has to back out now. He can't afford to go for a YOLO play over on Tiny Tiger. So great play coming in from Tiny Tiger, although the misplays from UGTFO and Kin really ensure the retreat. And with that happening, with him surviving, I believe it was actually a bit of an even trade, but that being said, Ace, because they've got the superior late game lineup, they benefit more from that fight than Yanamate did. Yeah, nah, mate, they're on the clock and they know it. They know it because Tuskar does taper off quite heavily past the 30 to 35 minute mark. They need to try to break high ground or get so far ahead that it's difficult for Ace to be able to try to trade in these engagements. But Ace, the majority of his epicenter was completely wasted by that BKB charge, and Tiny Tiger though, the real MVP, really setting up that fight, and now going in for the D-Ward, now got the Pipe of Insight. And because nah, mate, is so heavily reliant on magic damage to be able to go for these kills, the guys going on the illusion of Broder, the real Broder, actually this time, the real Broder for sure. Ice Shards flies up to provide some covering fire. Maybe thought about initiating in with the Ignite, or maybe just throwing out Ignite, just for some harassment damage, back himself off. And UGTFO, looks like he's finally got his Bloodstone flying out to him. Or at least rather, he's missing still the Voidstone. It's about 800 gold to go. Very delayed Bloodstone coming up from UGTFO due to his early deaths. Ideally, you want to have it by the 19-minute mark on an offlane Timbersaw, especially in a 1v1 matchup, where you should have actually had a fairly easy time against the Enigma. But that being said, better late than never. Still picking up that Bloodstone. Looks like, never mind, he did have enough to finish it, so he must have actually... Oh, never mind, doesn't it? No longer takes the Perseverance, so that was actually a misplay coming up from UGTFO. Only just realizing this now. So he had that casual Ring of Health early on in the game, realized it was a huge mistake, bought the Soul Ring instead. So he could now look to transition that into something like a Crimson Guard, which wouldn't be too bad of a pickup, just because it would completely mitigate all the right-click damage coming out from the rest of Ace, as well as giving them a bit more survivability against the TS. And Zhao, one meld hit, takes on 8th of UGTFO's life, and he's going to be very careful now. Real Broder now comes with the Ignite, because it's only level 1 multicast, much shorter range. High Fish running in, he wanted to go for that Black Hole, he wanted it so badly, but Meow instantly catch him out the Orc and live in silence. Stampede's being committed. Coxie once again saving the bacon of nah, mate. Tiny Tiger catches out to the snowball from King Killer to lead to his death in UGTFO. Is able to avenge his fallen comrade. Black Hole being used, catches out High Fish, but he burns inside the Macropire. Freeze and burn. Says Cox catches them out the ice path as well. Zhao now is too far in position. The sigil slowing and the snowball coming from King Killer. And King Killer at 50 HP snowballs back in to ensure that kill. Dusts himself as well to provide himself the retreat. And with that, nah, mate, they put themselves back on top. Massive change in terms of experience. So 6,000 experience going in their hands, as well as a 3,000 gold lead. So because they were able to decisively take that engagement, all thanks to Meow with the quick reflexes, awkwardly High Fish before he could get that Black Hole off, and Coxie as well. Liquid Fire and the Macropire. He actually killed High Fish inside his own Black Hole because of the Macropire damage. Huge turnaround coming up from nah, mate. Once the VKBs come online, much more difficult for Ace to be able to try to engage on them, especially since King Killer, slippery enough as it is with the Snowball, now add a VKB to the fray. Angel does only catch out Coxie and call that UGTFO as well. They could have actually looked to go for a turnaround. And he's actually eating the Mystic Flare while he's inside the Ancient Seal. Tiny Tiger just double edges them down. They trade Angel for UGTFO, very favorable trade for them. Tiny Tiger still on the hunt, he's got the Hoofstorm available and the Stampede. Commits the Stampede, wants to go on Cox, he knows that they should be to clean up Real Broder. Does catch out Cox with the Stampede. No Hoofstorm available, Meow's now back and joining back into the fray. They do clean up the Real Broder, but Tiny Tiger could be a little in a bit of danger. High Fish can went for a blink of his own, so no BKB yet. UGTFO catches out Tiny Tiger, and the Chakram as well as the Whirling Death damage, the fact that it reduces his primary stat by 15%, in this case strength. Heavily impacts Centaur War Run. The Timbersaw is an absolute nightmare to play against when you're a strength hero, just because his Whirling Death becomes that much more efficient. So he overcommitted there. And High Fish, that Blink Dagger, he has landed him one huge Black Hole so far, but he really does need that BKB just so he doesn't get interrupted inside the Chronosphere. Because the only thing that they could use to interrupt the Chronosphere once he's... Sorry, not the Chronosphere, the Black Hole once he's got a BKB is going to be the Walrus Punch coming up from Tuskar. That's if he happens to hit him from behind, and even then it's going to be a bit of a tricky proposition. King Killer will be interesting to see what enemy he chooses to go for now. The biggest advantage of a Tuskar is because you don't really need him to be a right-click DPS. In this case, he's there more to provide the control, so Walrus Punch, you should consider it more as CC or as an execution move than a form of outright DPS. If he goes for something like a Vladimir's into an Assault Cuirass, he's still able to provide a massive amount of DPS for the rest of his team, so he's there just as a durable frontline hero, because he can constantly re-engage with the Snowball. And the Sigil's there to be able to provide a huge tempo swing, so they're always able to win every single right-click war. The Sigil is the reason why Tuskar is so fantastic in these 5-on-5 engagements. The 60% attacks there, in conjunction with the Liquefies, it's 105 attack speed and 10 plus items losing. And now Meow picking up his own BKB, looking very strong. The 3 cores of nah, mate, a lot more farm than the 3 cores of Ace. And now that the initiation advantage of Ace, since they've committed into this triple blink lineup, the Blink Deck is mitigated. The only blink they have to worry about now is High Fishes. King Killer YOLOing into the entire base, pops the BKB preventively and backs himself out. Usually TFO, he's caught off the Ancient Seal as well as the Epicenter. Tiny Tiger blinks into the Ice Path and he instantly dies. He actually committed suicide, so he's denied the experience and gold going into their hands. Zhao being controlled by the Ice Path as well as Black Hole's actually being used over, and 2 Cox does take a fall, so no Macropire this time. Snowball comes a bit too late from King Killer, going over on the High Fish. But it's an absolute disaster, but yeah, not made so far. Angel catches out Real Brother with the Ancient Seal, gets cleaned up by the Arcane Bolt, and King Killer just zooms himself on out of there. With Meow as well. It's a huge tempo swing in favor of Ace. At least UGTFO was able to deny himself with that Mystic Staff pickup. We could be seeing either a Hex or a Shiva's Guard. Shiva's Guard provides them a lot more teamfight potential, but they might actually need a Hex to try to lock down and control the TA, especially once their BKB starts to wear off. It's already at 8 seconds, but that being said, King Killer as well. Be very judicious with his BKB charges at 7 seconds already. And now with the fact that you can no longer buy any new BKBs to refresh the cooldown, stuck at 5. Going to be very interesting to see how Yena Mate and Ace decide to respond to that. Blink Dagger pickup from King Killer, fantastic pickup because it lets you initiate and save the Snowball for counter initiation. So if the rest of his team happens to get called out the Black Hole, you blink yourself outside of range, Snowball yourself, and you can just pull in the rest of your teammates. And then Snowball the Enigma. It provides you a huge amount of tactical utility, as well as the fact that Snowball lasts for 4 seconds, and so it completely refreshes the Blink Dagger cooldown, so much like the Puck phase shift. You Snowball so long as the Blink Dagger is at the 4-second cooldown, at the 3-second cooldown, then you instantly blink yourself out. So it means that King Killer, so long as his Snowballs and his Blink Dagger are off cooldown, it should be very difficult for him to go for a kill, especially with the BKB now online. Zhao, a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's going to be the right click for the rest of his team, especially since the Centaur War Runner, while he does provide a fair amount of DPS just because of how beefy he gets with the stats, the way that he's building, he's there mostly to provide utility for the rest of his team. So he's there to be a very durable frontline hero, so he's going for that Shiva's Guard. Should be having it in the next 4 or 5 minutes unless he's able to find a few more kills. Actually, interesting note, he actually bought the recipe before he had the Mystic Staff picked up. You usually want to buy the cheapest part last, on the off chance you happen to get called out, so you hold on to your reliable gold for as long as possible for buybacks. But UGTFO, despite a bit of a rocky start, he's now picked up his Bloodstone. And with that, he's at 6 charges, so he's already lost a few thanks to his death. But the power of the Timbersaw is like a Storm Spirit. Once you get some kind of item that fulfills their mana needs, so either the Lincoln Sphere, the Bloodstone, or even something like an Orc and Malevolence, it really becomes very difficult for him to control you in these engagements, because he's got that maxed out reactive armor, and especially if he goes for the Shiva's Guard route, they're going to have an incredibly difficult time dealing with the Timbersaw, and he can just run through their backline heroes. Since with the Aghanim Scepter, Timbersaw does 1250 pure damage, assuming the Whirling Death also procs on the tree, with a level 3 Chakram. So assuming you get the double Chakram on them and then pull it back immediately, follow in with the Timber Chain onto them and then the Whirling Death, 1250 pure damage, instantly kills Skywrath Mage, almost drops the Centaur War Runner down to about 300-400 HP. That provides you, since you're also factoring in the primary stat removal, that's the reason why Timbersaw's been seeing a lot more play. As the Aghanim's have to upgrade, lets him scale a lot more into the later stage of the game, and lets him instantly pop back on heroes. Meow with the double damage room, looking very scary. Will be interesting to see what item he looks to go for next. If he decides that the game's going late, he might decide to go in for an IS Guardian now, and to let him kite the Templar Assassin quite effectively, and also provide you a lot more sustainability, so if they do happen to initiate on you, you've got enough stats that can absorb a few spells. Otherwise, if he wants to go for much more of a conventional Queen of Pain build, but they want to end the game in the next 5 to 10 minutes, then he wants to go for something like a Sheepstick, so you have that pick-off power coming in from him. But yeah, no mate, they're also placing a lot of pressure on their mid lane hero, because that's their only true late game hero that will scale it. Although, that being said, Timbersaw and the Ogre do scale fairly effectively, and Ogre looks like he's going for the Blade Mail, and loving the Blade Mail pickup because Angel's not going to be going for a BKB anytime soon. He's too poor to go for that. He still doesn't even have Arcane Boots, and they've got a lot of uncontrolled AoE damage coming up from Ace. So the Midnight Pulse, the Epicenter, as well as the Mystic Flare, Broder, he's tanky enough that he can afford to walk into that and stay alive, or at least return enough damage that the Blade Mail pickup's worthwhile. You usually only want to go for a Blade Mail pickup if you've got at least 1100 to 1200 HP, so that way you're returning a fair amount of DPS, unless you're against a hero like a Huskar, in which case you can actually make him kill himself if he jumps on you. Since Blade Mail returns pure damage, so it cuts through the Berserker's blood. Smoke rotation coming in, Tiny Tiger goes in and actually unfortunately whiffs his Hoop Stomp, But Angel's going to be a catch out Cox, and Broda immediately TPs himself out. KingKiller stands his ground, punches down Lance from the look of it. UGTFO also going to be a little bit too careful. He's behind enemy lines now. Side trap being used. The Malthus prevents the Timber Chain. Tiny Tiger holds onto his hoofstomp, but UGTFO once again takes a death. So Kin, he's at least able to clean up Lance, but the rest of his team are able to bail out. UGTFO should have immediately backed out as Meow, nowhere near there. Meow, doing what Queen of Pain does best, the rest of his team's behind, decides to split push. With any hero with high mobility, if things are in doubt, you can just always just try to split push. Force the enemy team to respond to you as opposed to you responding to them. In King Kill, that Blink Dagger's items haven't progressed past that point. It will be interesting to see what item he chooses to go for. The advantage of having a Tusker on the team is it makes the Shiva's Guard pickup even more effective. So you've got the negative 40% attack speed from the Shiva's Guard, throw in the negative 60 from the Sigil, and the 40 from the Ice Path, from the Liquid Fire. Makes it very difficult for the Templar Assassin to get a lot of her right clicks in. Since Templar Assassin, she's a hero that builds damage as opposed to attack speed. Especially if you happen to go for phases. The reason why Treads is usually a preferred pickup for Templar Assassin, especially if you think the game will go late, because you get more overall DPS from it, and you've got enough chasing capability with the side trap, and from the initiation coming up from the rest of your team. But UGTFO now picks up a Shiva's Guard. We've got some pinks coming up, and Roshan could be an avenue that UGC might want to choose to take, especially if they want to try breach high ground, because so far the fights haven't been going in their favor. They've lost the last two fights quite decisively. And it's starting to rack up, especially if you have a look at the golden experience graph. Stabilized now at 5,000. But considering UGC's draft, they have to try to end the game in the next 5 to 10 minutes, or at least breach high ground for the lineup to have a fighting chance, unless if Meow's able to find an absolutely phenomenal amount of farm. But Zhao is actually almost on par with the Templar Assassins. Things are looking fairly grim. There's only a 300 net worth difference, and at this point it's actually fairly negligible. Meow picked up the ultimate orb, so it could be either the Sheepstick, or it could be the Eye of Skadi. It gives you the flexibility of being in the back out, whereas if he chose to commit with the Mystic Staff, would be forced to go for the Sheepstick. The Shiva's Guard's already being picked up. They're going to smoke into Roshan, but first looks like the sports are going to try to place a ward. Never mind, looks like Kin and Broda just start chilling outside to try to bait an engagement into the Roshan pit. So for the Roshan engagement, actually goes both ways, because on one point you've got the Ice Path Epicenter and the Ice Shard. During the Macropie and the Ice Shard to be able to block off Roshan and to be able to deal a massive amount of damage to stuck in this passage. At the same time, you've got Epicenter, Stampede, and the Black Hole to worry about. So it's a very risky Roshan engagement since both teams. They've got excellent heroes that fight inside the pit. We've got a pink coming out as KingKiller actually revealed himself. And so it looks like he actually is now going for the Desolator. So the Desolator pick up on Tuskar. It really saves Meow from having to go for it. The reason why he's going for it is not to increase his DPS output so much as to amplify Meow, since Meow can be the real form of DPS for his team. Kid, it still does give him that burst damage combination. Looks like they're going to back out now. Because Ace, they're smoking up, they're going into Roshan, they know Roshan's going to be attempted sometime soon. This is the only way mate can comfortably push into high ground. And with that smoke rotation check on Roshan failing, now rotating to the mid lane. And Cox, he actually could be caught completely out of position. Got to be very careful now. Tiny Tiger, smoke is going to break, so they know Cox is around, but they've already gone over on Broda. Broda's caught in with the Burrow Strike coming in. Meow blicks himself out of range for the Epicenter, and UGTFO as well as KingKiller are able to find that first kill. Epicenter's been completely whiffed. Meow stands ground that BKB, unfortunately dies to Zhao. He just cuts him down. The Desolator scratches to his Cox as well. Should be taking a death. One more right click. The Desolator damage doing its work. High Fish catches out. Two with the Black Hole. UGTFO takes another death, and KingKiller, he's got the Blink Tag available, so he should be fine. But once again, fantastic trade going in favor of Ace. They lose 2 in exchange for 4. More than happy to do so. They're able to clean up 2 out of the 3 cores. The only core they didn't clean up was Kin, with 7,000 experience change, so about 4,000 swing in their favor, as well as a 2,500 gold swing. And things are now looking grim for UGC and its lineup. Their draft was designed to win by the 35-40 minute mark, or at least breach high ground, so they're so far ahead, it's difficult for them to fall behind. Zhao, they've got no answer for Zhao. He just runs at them. Meow popped the BKB, trying to man-fight against Zhao, and Zhao just cut him down. Queen of Pain doesn't have to armor to man-fight against Zhao, especially when Zhao has a Desolator as well. Broda does catch out Kid, alongside Kid does catch out Zhao, but he just stands the ground with a refraction. Dust being used, but Angel standing there providing the covering fire to the Bar Strike, preventing the immediate re-engage from Kid. And Zhao's actually tanky enough now. They can actually just absorb the damage coming up from Kin and just man-fight him. The Walrus Punch isn't going to provide you enough consistent DPS for you to really go for a kill, at least until the Desolator comes online. And things are starting to look grim for UGC, mate. Meow backing himself off. He's going to go find some more farm. He needs the Skadi if he wants to man fight against the TA, or at least try to engage against the TA. But at the same time, they might need the sheep stick just so they can control her, especially since the BKB cooldown is starting to wear off. We're looking at 7 seconds now. Now got a 4-star pickup coming out from Angel. So Angel, no arcane boots required. Very interesting pickup coming out from Angel, choosing not to go for arcane boots, because usually the reason why you need arcane boots is so you can get more than one burrow strike off in a fight, especially if you decide to commit with the epicenter. But that could be the rationale behind Highfish going for the arcane boots early, as opposed to the early mech. So I was questioning the effectiveness of it earlier. It makes sense now in the greater context, so he's there to provide mana for Angel, as opposed to needing it for himself. He's almost got his own BKB now, so the Enigma, especially with the change to the Aghanim Scepter, if the game goes late enough, he could actually even look to think about investing into it, just to further amplify their damage, or most likely will be going for something much more reliable like a Sheep Stick. Timbersaw going for his Aghanim Scepter now, but UGTFO, the drawback of the Timbersaw is he does nothing against a TA, especially a TA with a BKB. So the lineup of mate, it's on a taper off, and this is going to be the critical factor for them. The fact that they threw away such a huge amount of spree gold and their fast 3 engagements is going to make it very difficult for them to try to recover. They've got a Desolator now, but they really need to try to find a pick-off on Zhao. Because Zhao, he's been sitting on a pretty big spree. I believe it might be wicked sick at this point. It's about 1,200 gold going to the person that kills him, as well as a further 300-400 to the rest of his team. That's really going to be the critical factor for this next engagement. If they catch out Zhao on his own, they're able to kill him before the rest of his team can respond. They could actually try to end the game. But Zhao going to be going for a Butterfly, and Butterfly synergizes even more now with Templar Assassin, especially if you go Treads, because you can now activate the Flutter effect to provide yourself 20% movement speed. And so you're not getting away from the TA at all. Even without any drum charges or without the side trap, she's going to have max movement speed once she pops the Flutter and pops her phase boots. Zhao playing a bit too far forward. He's got the rest of his team in the back of him up. Since Lance, his sole job is to be able to provide some covering fire with it, Ancient Seal, especially when King Killer goes in, or to try to catch out Broder. And this is the power of Skyrath Mage compared to other support heroes. The fact that you've got the instant silence of the Ancient Seal really messes up the ability of their supports to be able to do anything in these engagements. So BKB now online for Highfish, and mate, they're pushing the Dire Straits. They've got no way to control the Enigma, or to be able to control the TA. Either of them can single-handedly win ace this engagement, especially since their coordination so far has been pretty spot on. Cox looks like he's probably going to be saving for what looks like a 4-staff or a Yule Scepter. Either or are fairly effective pickups. A 4-staff would probably be the better pickup in this case, just to enable them to try to kite the Templar Assassin for a bit longer. But that being said, the Yule Scepter provides you a lot more solo pick-off power. Kid with that Desolator, he has to now transition into another core hero, or at least in terms of DPS. But this is the weakness of the Tusk guy. He's got very slow attack speed. He's reliant on front-loading damage. Angel actually huge misplay coming out from him. Really whiffs the Burrow Strike. And Broder eats the concussive shot, forces out the Stampede. And so they've got a 60-second window of opportunity, or at least 50 seconds now. Mate, they might choose to try to commit for this push, but at the moment things are looking grim. We've now got the Ayascali up on Meow. He's going to be the saving grace for the rest of his team. We'll use TFO, he's being pinged out. A bit too far behind enemy lines, he's got to turn Temperature himself to safety. Does so, prevents the initiation coming in from... Looks like Tiny Tiger was hanging around. TFO though, he's almost got his Aghanim Scepter, but he's holding on to buyback. At this point, if they're losing engagement, things can be going south very quickly for mate, because they just run down through mid and start knocking at their tier 3. Ice Path flies out. Looks like they're just farming up creeps on that one. So Cox. His macro pies have been fairly spot on so far, but the BKBs have actually mitigated a huge amount of their impact. UGTFO goes over and Zhao, silence has been used as well. The BKB immediately pops, and Meow actually jukes out the Hoofstomp. UGTFO is just face tanking everything while King Killer goes over and Highfish punches him in the face, but Highfish now has the black hole as well as the BKB available, running in. Epicenter flies through over and Broder only catches out 2, but then when he catches out Meow, which is the most important factor, Ice Path flies through as well as the Macropie, Meow could be taking it. He cannot afford to die, but mate, they're turning it. Highfish takes the fall, they finally bring down the big bad Templar Assassin. Tiny Tiger flee for his life as UGTFO cuts him out the Chakram, and Lance, a bit too far forward, but the King Killer just pops you in the face, one-shots you with the Desolator with the level 3 Walrus Punch. And mate, they finally have the window they need to try to breach high ground. This is what their lineup needed to do about 5 minutes ago. The Templar Assassin buys back, they have to back off. They cannot afford to get picked off now. UGTFO, he's got the chain, so he should be home safe. Interesting to note, UGTFO also did decide to go back for the Arcane Boots after he finished his Bloodstone. He usually want to go for Boots of Travels. UGTFO eats the Melt Strike like it was candy, but the Malefice is there. UGTFO does die to that Midnight Pulse. Could have actually chosen to commit suicide there, wasn't able to do so. And with that, Zhao's buyback is actually completely justified, as well as Highfish. But that being said, it's now a 7-minute cooldown, I believe, for buyback. So if they're able to pick off Zhao again, they could use that to end the game. So if we have a look at the fight recap, never mind, trying to calculate the buyback change. If we have a look at the gold graph and as well as net worth, massive change. So about 7,000, about 5,000 gold going in favor of YeNa mate just from that one engagement, although it probably will be going slightly back in favor of Ace with the pickoffs from the buyback. But the experience is going to be a much more critical factor. Swung from 0 to about 5,000. So it's a massive fight going in their hands, and the 4-staff has been picked up by the Jakira, so the sole objective is to kite out the TA during her BKB, and once the BKB wears off, then you lock her down, then you try to go for a kill. And so the Ayaskadi pickup on Meow, doing a lot of work, it gave him enough survivability, they're forced to expend more resources than they really want to, and now UGTFO, he's got the Aghanim Scepter, and he can instantly engage over on Angel, kill at the start of the fight. So if he's able to combo it perfectly, to double chakra and pull through them immediately, Timber Chain into Whirling Death, 1250 pure damage, instantly pops Angel, takes out about two-thirds of Tiny Tiger's life and should instantly kill it. Lance as well. Lance also instantly dies to the Walrus Punch coming out from Kin. It's the weakness of the Skywrath Mage, it's got very low armor, and so because the negative armor is applied before the crit actually comes in, should be enough to instantly pop him. So Kin Killer probably should be going for something like a Assault Cuirass now to not only beef himself up, but to also provide a more attack speed. Because once he gets the Assault Cuirass with the Sigil Snare, he actually does deal a substantial amount of DPS in these engagements, just he's constantly hitting you and constantly reapplying that negative armor. So negative 11 armor, so 6 from the Deso and then 5 from the Assault Cuirass means that Meow's also hitting like an absolute monster truck. And this is the power of the Ogre Magi, it's the reason why he's one of the most powerful supports in 8-2, is the fact that Bloodlust makes his scale to all stages of the game. He's one of the few support heroes that's always relevant in every stage of the game. Still nowhere near his Blade Mail, looks like they are pinging out Roche, but Ace and immediately responding. Highfish pops at the smoke, and they're running in. They need to have someone hiding in the wings, and Cox looks like he's going to be the one waiting in the wings. He has to be the throw on the ice path to prevent them from being engaged. He's also got the Macropire, but UGTFO, he should also be hanging back. He can't afford to get caught out. It's the only way to try to disengage, or to try to turn these engagements, but they're able to kill Roshan in time. And Ace, they might be walking into a trap now. Tiny Tiger goes and unfortunately whiffs with the Blinker Hoofstomp initiation, and Angel does, catches out too, Meow, corners the black hole as well, and Kin Killer rolls back into it, Aegis instantly pops, Kin drops, UGCFO, calling down the Midnight Pulse, doing so much deep to him, Malefice is there, Sonic Wave flies through, Angel should die to that, Zhao taking a fair amount of damage, the double chakra completely whiffs, Ice Path catches out Highfish, Meow, dancing around, sting, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, UGTFO, he's the one doing this thing, he actually forced up himself for miscommunication coming in from Cox, almost cost him his life. But that double chakra was able to instantly kill the Templar Assassin before he was able to deal that finishing blow. And things could have gone so much worse for YeNa mate. Especially with King Killer rolling into that black hole. All boiled down to Tiny Tiger's misinitiation. If he was able to catch out Meow in that first stun, instead of blinking forward completely whiffing. I followed up with Angel, they would have been able to kill Meow a lot earlier. So they wouldn't have had to invest the black hole just to be able to bring down Meow, at least that early on. Bit of a misplay, and the 4-staff usage was actually able to kite out the TA, so it's the fact that the Ice Guardian in conjunction with the 4-staff meant that UGTFO was able to kite out TA, and TA without buyback now, they've got the 60-second window to try to breach high ground. Tiny Tiger, this time it lands over on Meow, but instantly a double chakra flies through him. Tiny Tiger taking so much damage, Meow standing inside the Mystic Flare. Had the blink available, had the BKB, got a bit too complacent there. Pays for it, Angel only catches out one, but UGTFO stands his ground, throws in the double chakra, takes out half of Angel's life. And Coxie, he's completely out of mana now, he's going to be very careful, could actually choose to just TP himself on now, the Arcane Boot use. And Ace, respecting YeNa mate, choosing not to commit to that. Broder, however, meanwhile, the split-pushing Ogre Magi, he could be paying for his Angel, Blink Hoofstomp, double edge, now coming in from Tiny Tiger, there we go. So Broder, hashtag space created, or Patty please. You decided with that, once again, experiencing gold, going in favor of Ace. But it does buy them time. For the rest of YeNa mate to at least be able to recuperate, since it prevents them from being a group up now and go for a push. And Meow, report pink coming out, so it was a tactical feed coming out from Broder, the captain of YeNa mate. They all good friends in real life, so they do joke around. UGTFO now actually picked up a Blade Mail, so instead opting not to go for a BKB, rationalizing that because they have so much uncontrolled AoE, and they're not going to be going for BKBs anytime soon, or at least the Sand King's not going to be going for one. The Blade Mail pickup is partially mitigated by the BKB on Enigma, just because he's not going to be eating into the damage. Remember his own Midnight Pulse, which would be fairly significant. Looks like a Robot Magi actually was dropped somewhere. And Cox, he picks it up, looks like it belonged to Broder. Dropped it so he could carry another set of wards. So hashtag support life. Tiny Tiger, his items haven't progressed at all ever since he's picked up a Shiva's Guard. He really needs a BKB of his own, because otherwise and UGTFO will be able to eat him for breakfast every single time. The sheer amount of burst damage coming in from the double chakram, especially with the Whirling Death primary stat removal, means that he can't afford to go for a harder Taras this game, at least until he gets a BKB first. Or even something like a 4-star for Tiny Tiger, so on the off chance he happens to whiff his first blink, he can 4-star himself in position. But Zhao, he's the only real form of damage at this point. The BKB is online, so he's got to make sure that his positioning is completely impeccable. He can't afford to let himself get kited, he can't afford the tunnel vision. If they're able to control him in these engagements, Ace, even if they get great initiation with coming out from Angel as well as Tiny Tiger, they're not going to have enough the follow through to be able to really go for the killing blow. Just because, yeah, no, mate, once again, they've got a very durable lineup. Every single one of their heroes, including the Jakiro, are incredibly beefy. It's going to be difficult for them to go for the kill. The squishiest hero on their team is actually the Ogre Magi. So it's rare that you say that. It's Meow. Holding on to his gold for now will be interesting to see what item he chooses to go for. We usually see something like a Daedalus pickup, or at this point, because there's a butterfly available, probably going to be seeing an MKB from Meow if he wants to try to kill Zhao, since Zhao with that butterfly pickup doesn't have buyback, but he's going to be that much harder to bring down. So hitting like an absolute monster truck is going to come at you like a wrecking ball. 2 shots down the creep wave. So they really can't afford to take an engagement right now on High Fish. Now going in for a refresh roll. It's not so much for the fact that you could get 2 black holes off in the fight, although obviously if you can, that's fantastic. It's more for the fact that your black hole never has any downtime. Since usually if you push against the Enigma, and if you trade, and if black holes usually say, okay, 3 minutes, we've got a window, we have to push now. If you got the refresh roll, especially if you catch him by surprise the first time, you could actually turn that into a wipe. Although, that being said, if you are able to get a double black hole, especially on important heroes, that could also decisively win you an engagement, but it provides you a huge amount of flexibility with your black hole. You can be a lot more judicious with it. You no longer have to be very careful, very stingy with it, because your team isn't completely dependent on the 3-minute, on working on that 3-minute cooldown. Speaking of 3-minute cooldowns, looks like UGTFO has actually decided to sell his arcane boots and then go for boots of travels. Usually you don't, once you have the bloodstone, all your mana issues are solved. You should, with your naked boots, you should translate them to boots of travels, so you have a lot more map presence. Doubling back for the arcane boots isn't really going to be all too effective. King Killer actually picks up a harder Taras, so he, instead of going for the Assault Karas, would have actually preferred the Assault Karas just to amplify the damage output of Meow even further. But the nice thing about this, especially the way Kin's been playing this task by constantly engaging and disengaging, is that heart regen means that he can, if they don't kill him, he's going to back himself out with the Snowball or with the Blink Dagger, and he can choose to re-engage after 5-10 seconds in a similar sense to the Anti-Mage. And so it means that Kin's is always going to be a constant factor. And because he does actually hit fairly hard and fairly fast with the Bloodlust, he can't just run at their backline heroes and force them out. So the harder Taras pickup makes sense because the only form of physical DPS is going to be the Templar. And so you want to beef up your HP pool more, as opposed if they had another core hero, another hero that could deal physical DPS, then the Assault Karas would have given you more EHP. But you do lose out on the offensive capability. The Heart gives you no offensive capability, apart from the YOLO factor of having the 1100 HP. Zhao, one-man army, defending the wave single-handedly with the Midnight Pulse to provide some covering fire. Looks like Tiny Tiger doing some split pushing. Looks like he's now going for the harder Taras. Would have preferred the BKB just because UGTFO doesn't really give a damn about how much HP you have. The double chakrams instantly clears out the wave. This is the added benefit of why you want to go for Boots of Travels once you go Bloodstone. Timbersaw is actually a fairly potent split pushing hero because he can instantly clear out a creep wave using his abilities. Tiny Tiger was actually successful with that split push. And so the Centaur Warrunner making space, or at least he might be forcing Yenamate to respond, but never mind, he's backing himself off. He should have actually chosen to commit. He's backing himself off, getting himself out of vision for now. So I think he's gone back, and then he's going to choose to commit to it again, unless his team needs him. So there we go, Tiny Tiger, getting himself out of map vision to buy the rest of his team enough time. So now Yenamate, they know he's committing to it now. So if they choose to back off, they all have to back off as 5, because otherwise Ace can choose to engage. But that being said, they can push a hell of a lot faster than Tiny Tiger can. So if they are actually able to catch up Ace, especially since Zhao, a bit too far forward though, Ice Shards could have potentially spelled his doom. But Tiny Tiger, the split push is coming through, they have to back off now. 2 catapults, as well as that many range units. Real brother, he's the one that's going to back himself off. It should have actually been UGTFO, because he's got the Boots of Travel, so he can at least choose to re-engage if they start commit to this, but UGTFO, he's backing himself off now. Side Trap's been used, Stampede, they're on the hunt. UGTFO looks like he's the one that could be taking a death, instantly commits suicide. And the rest of Yename backed themselves off. So 60-second respawn time because of the Bloodstone. Without it would have been at least 80 seconds, so huge time being saved there with the Bloodstone pickup, and actually does prevent Ace from even getting anything from that. With that being said, Ace, they can continue to split push through the top lane. So Tiny Tiger, the power of the Centaur Warren, especially if he goes for the Reaver pickup, is just tank towers. It lets you split push a lot more effectively. Because the return damage does proc on towers, and Ace, if they get this Roshan, it can spell an absolute doom for Yana, mate, especially since they can't re-engage with UGTFO there. Sigil flies through, trying to snare them up a bit, slow down the speed that it takes for them to go for Roshan. King Killer might actually choose to YOLO into this, decides not to. Was thinking about it, and Zhao, it was difficult enough killing him once, killing him twice is going to be an absolute nightmare, especially with Meow, no MKB inside. He's going to have it at about 500 gold, but that will leave him without buyback. And you always want to have buyback when you're fighting against an Aegis carrying carry, because they can afford to throw their life away and commit for a push afterwards, because they've got the reset factor with the Aegis. So yeah, nah mate, they were showing a lot of some signs of life, but Ace, the noose is tightening because their lineup scales significantly better into the later stages of the game. Jakiro, at this point, he's fairly ineffective. He's there mostly to provide the ice path on heroes that don't have BKBs, so he's there to lock down their other supports, as well as I suppose Tiny Tiger, as well as the pushing power on the off chance they do happen to win a fight. At the moment, Jakiro, he really should be transitioning to something like a... Actually, with the Ghost Scepter pickup, if he goes for an E-Blade, it would actually be a fairly effective pickup. Not so you can use it aggressively, but you can use it defensively to provide that ethereal form to your allies if the TA jumps on them. Provides you another way to be able to kite around the TA and wait out of a BKB duration. Because the BKB is now at 5 seconds, and TA go for what looks like the Assault Cuirass. That's because it provides you not only the DPS from the additional negative armor, but the EHP. Since the only way they can kill the TA now, they can't rely on spell damage to kill her. She's got the BKB and she's too tanky. The only way they can reliably do so is physical DPS. And so if she could just outlast the right clicks coming from Mule, she could just run at him and try to cut him down to this Mule. Or Meow rather, nowhere near the amount of armor to try to contest. Especially if she happens to make it into right clicking distance. And the Assault Cuirass picked up. Zhao, he's hit the point of critical mass, and at this point the only thing he can really do now is sell his phase boots, go for a BOT, and maybe pick up something like a crit or a satanic if he wants to transition, if he wants to be a lot more durable. But otherwise, Zhao is coming very close to being 6 slotted, and this could be a factor in Namit's favor, just because they're entirely dependent on Zhao for these team fights. If Zhao gets caught out, if Zhao dies without the Aegis or without buyback, Ace instantly fall apart as a team. They need the follow through. From the TA, since the rest of the heroes don't actually have much right-click DPS. Once BKB's pop, they can just choose to sit there and shrug it off. UGTFO, he needs a BKB of his own, even though there's a black hole that will pierce through the BKB. It's the fact that you don't get called out by Angel or by Tiny Tiger with the initiation. Now, he's got the MKB now, but he also wants to make sure he's got enough for buyback. So he's going to be farming for about 1,500 more gold before he feels comfortable in going for the MKB. But this is the power of the Queen of Pain. She does flash farm very effectively with the Scream of Pain. And because you've got the Blink, you just constantly split push. But while I say that, Meow, missing a few right clicks there. And High Fish with the Refresh royalty, they no longer have the timing window of the Black Hole. High Fish, he's going to be the huge factor in the next engagement, just because he ensures that Templar Assassin can hit someone in the fights. The only way Yaname can win an engagement is if they kite out Zhao until the BKB wears off, and then they choose to re-engage. But when you've got a blinking BKB Enigma with an 8-sec with 2 black holes, even if he only catches out 1 or 2 heroes, if he throws out the ultimate and catches out Meow, it's going to be worth it, so long as they kill Meow with inside that black hole. Because Meow is also their only real form of sustained DPS against the TA. King Killer can't go toe-to-toe against the TA because A, he's got the evasion, and B, Tuskar will get 4-shotted, especially with the negative armor coming through, even with the hard thrust. He needs armor to increase his EHP against the TA, or they need Assault Cuirass now to be able to balance out the negative armor they're receiving. So it's the Red Queen hypothesis. If one team picks up an Assault Cuirass, the other team needs to pick up an Assault Cuirass of their own to try to even out the negative armor, because otherwise the team with the AC have that significant advantage. With the 10 armor swing in their favor. Could even be seeing something like a casual Vladimir's offering picked up on one of their supports just to beef them up a bit more. The +5 armor really does provide a significant increase in EHP against the TA, who's their primary threat. Real Broder hanging around. If we have a look at map control, there's only one ward placed by both teams, so those very defensive wards. Actually, never mind, there's a second one placed there by Ace. So Ace, they're taking no chances. They're providing 2 very powerful defensive wards to prevent them from coming in from this area. This ward is used predominantly for if they're trying to breach up high ground through here. You can spot them when they rotate in. You also see if anyone's hiding on the sides. It's just King Killer, so it could snowball or blink in. While I say that, smoke engagement, they are going over, and Cox is caught out. Angel as well immediately goes in. UGTFO caught inside the black hole. Huge black hole coming out from Highfish. He's got the refresher. Throws out black hole. Unfortunately, whiffs that, so PGG level up. Meow pops his BKB. They're all able to pick up 2. Actually, they picked up 3. Instant buyback coming out. And Meow, MKB is around. He's throwing out right clicks on Tiny Tiger, but Tiny Tiger is so beefy. He's actually dealing more damage back than Meow in terms of percentage of HP. And UGTFO, no buyback available. They've actually got a quick pause coming out, as it looks like they are experiencing a little bit of lag. At least I'm assuming they're experiencing lag. The Centaur War Runner, the advantage of the Heart of Taras pickup is it lets you just sit there in the front line and tank the tower. You've got enough EHP from the Shiva's Guard that while you still do take a lot of damage from UGTFO as a Timbersaw, you're not really taking much damage from anybody else, and it does give you a lot more return damage. Looks like things are good to go, but this is do or die for mate. If they can't hold on to their racks in this next engagement, Ace are gonna just eventually outfarm them, because now Golden Experience is starting to finally go into their hands. So mate, despite having such a fantastic early game as well as mid game, things are starting to really fall apart now, because the game's going late enough that the lineup's becoming fairly obsolete. Tiny Tiger runs another Meow, is called out with the Ancient Seal. BKB is on cooldown, so he's going to be incredibly careful. Timbersaw now buys back with the snowball coming in from King Killer, but that snowball could actually spell his doom. They're going over and Tiny Tiger is caught out with the Walrus Punch. Tiny Tiger throws it the hoofs on, completely juked out. Angel, huge Boris Strike, catches out 2, and Meow dies. That's going to be the critical kill. He's forced to buy back now. Zhao almost takes the death. Should actually be ticking down a little bit. If they are able to kill Zhao, it's going to be worthwhile. Otherwise, Kin's on the hunt. Cox as well, they finally are able to bring him down. He's got buyback available. Highfish called in, no B available. No black hole available as well, so Highfish should be taking death. King Killer starts beating him down. Mate, they're doing it. They're turning the tides. They now have the window of opportunity to go in for the killing blow. At least forced out the buybacks coming out from Ace. If they're not able to do so, the game's going to move heavily against their favor, since they've now picked up a huge flux of EXP. But EXP at this point is going to be completely irrelevant, because all their heroes have picked up their level 3 ultimates. First buyback coming out from Zhao. They're going to try to see if they can bait out even more. Meow goes over an Ace. Ace Yule cycles himself up to purge off the Orchid Silence, but Ken just punches him down and says, "What you thinking about, mate?" King Killer running back in, goes for the rack start, backs himself off. Zhao caught him with a 3x multicast. He could actually bring him down. If they bring down Zhao, that's going to be game for the Ace. There's no dust available. There we go. There's the dust. And Zhao keep himself alive, and now Highfish, he wished he had the black hole available. They are able to clean up 1 with the epicenter. They clean up 2. Meow standing his ground against Angel. He now blinks himself out. And Ace, they're able to get the tempo, and while they were able to bring down Zhao, they also catch out all of mate, without buyback. The only one's got buyback now is Ken, and on his own, it's going to be difficult for him to be able to hold the line. Huge swing going in favor of both teams. Ace now looking very far ahead now. If they are able to take Rex with this push, things they should actually be able to try to control the game. They still do have the tattoo up over the bottom lane, so they won't be able to go for Megas. But Meow is down for 100 seconds. And Ken's the only one available with buyback, especially since Cox blew buyback early as well as UGTFO. Broder, I believe he does have buyback, doesn't have enough gold for it. Ken, the smartest decision he could really do right now is maybe actually go bot and try to split push. They've got the fortification, was used. Ken doing everything he can, instantly goes over and lands. Not going to be enough this time. And Ken actually put himself a bit too far in position. His YOLO plays though, he does get 1. He's right in time. So they're beating on him instead of beating on their racks. Cannot afford to die though. If he's able to keep himself alive for a little bit longer, he can snowball out, but not going to be able to do so. He throws his life away in exchange for Lance. So he's going to be losing that first set of racks. The real brother now is back in the fray, but he doesn't want to get anywhere near Tiny Tiger or Angel, especially with the double link initiation. And Tiny Tiger instantly goes top. That actually could be a game going in favor of Ace, especially with that throw. Broder goes into the 5 last Walls team. Now, but Angel's waiting in the wings. And Highfish, this time he's got Black Hole available. Broder pops the Blade Mail, but looks like the TP was actually cancelled by UGTFO. Throws his life away. Mate, they're falling apart at the seams. They were doing so well in the early stage, especially with that fight, but they threw away their lead. With some YOLO plays coming in. UGTFO goes over an Angel, but they completely ignore him. They just go for the racks. So objective-based Dota coming up from then. Cox wasn't in range for the Ice Path, even if he did throw it out, and Highfish should be able to blink himself out. So mate. Massive tempo going in favor of Ace as they lose 2 sets of racks, well, 1.5. The melee racks are much more important to the racks to go now. It means that 2 of their lanes will constantly be pushing forward. Makes it very difficult for mate to push forward, especially since Tiny Tiger can apply split pushing pressure with the Boots of Travels. If they ever happen to be fighting mid or bot, all they have to do is BOT top, going for the last set of ranks, or going for the tier 2, or even just pressure for the tier 4. So it's much more difficult for Nah mate to really be able to commit for a kill, especially with buyback down for another 3 minutes from Yell. Gel, even if he gets caught without buyback, the rest of his team now is so far ahead, they might actually be able to turn these fights without him, especially with Highfish there with the black hole, and with the BOTs. They don't even have to fight at this point. They could choose to completely ignore the next engagement from Nah mate, and just go down and go for their throw. They're going to push a lot faster than they are. So if it turns into a base race, especially with the Assault Cuirass and the Deso, Ace should have that advantage, because they just have Tiny Tiger tank the towers, so the return damage is proccing on the towers. He's not going to be taking any damage from the tower at all, especially the harder Tarrasque regen. Tiny Tiger, at this point, he can really go for anything he wants. Even picking up something like a Sheep Stick would be a worthwhile pickup. He does scout out the rotation going in. This Aegis is going to be the only way Nah mate can try to turn this, but Tiny Tiger, he's already in position. He's waiting for the rest of his team. They're slowly converging across the map. They might be able to find it in time, so Tiny Tiger might make a YOLO play and try to take the Aegis to at least deny him. Because otherwise, if they're not able to get there in time, Ken actually runs in, instantly pops lands. They run over the black hole, they're actually able to do it. The Aegis steal is coming online from Ace. They're not able to deal any damage to Roshan though. Tiny Tiger, looks like the Aegis is still on the ground, no one's able to pick it up. Black hole flies out, then the double chakra, Highfish, MVP for Ace. Really turning that game around. UGTFO runs back in, Zhao pops, no buyback available this time. Meow as well, no buyback available for him. Ken standing his ground, looks like he went for Helmet Dominator. Tiny Tiger, he's the one the Aegis team moment. He's alone with Angel. Angel, he's doing everything he can. He actually goes in with a great 2-man Burrow Strike. Cox, Ice Path is available. Liquefy to prevent him from being a blink out. Tiny Tiger lives, and nah mate, this is their only window of opportunity to be able to end the game. They have to push fast, they have to push hard. King Killer instantly jumping on Lance, popping him with one punch. Really being able to turn that. It's been unfortunate that while Highfish was going for, he went in a little bit too early. If he waited just a half second later so the damage of Roshan was there, Tiny Tiger could have killed it, picked up Aegis, and then continued to deal DPS. They split targets there, they decided to go for hero kills instead of going for the Aegis. Should have done one or the other, made the decision a lot earlier, but that being said, Ken Killer really was able to swing that just because they weren't able to deal with them. While they were too busy dealing with everybody else, Ken Killer just ran in, started smacking people left and right. And with that, they should be able to use that to try to go for their first set of racks, but the tier 4s are now taking a lot of pressure. And Cox, he's the only one that can try to defend this. He's doing everything he can to look at fire. Broda as well, going into UGTFO and King Killer with the negative armor coming for the Deso. They've got 30 seconds to try to take their set of racks. When Fortification flies out, Tiny Tiger whips the Hoopstone Snap, even used over in UGTFO. UGTFO stats, grab the Chakram. King Killer goes on a Lance. Isn't able to get the Walrus Punch off. They have to go for the racks. That's the only objective they could go for that would be worthwhile. Punches Tiny Tiger to lock him down for a little bit longer. Goes in for their first. So they are able to bring down their melee racks. They have to back out now. Hoofstorm coming in from Tiny Tiger. Let's catch up King Killer once again. The covering fires there from UGTFO. Snowball flies over and Lance once again gets punched down. They actually stand their ground. King Killer's got the heart regen. UGTFO as well. Doesn't really give it out. He has to back himself off now that Zhao's joined the throw. The King Killer there for some covering fire as well, some moral support. No mana available with UGTFO. Caught out once again by Tiny Tiger. Sheev is guard flying forward from both of them, so Winter is coming. Angel blinks forward, 4 stars. He wants to go for the Burrow Strike, not going to be able to get it. And UGTFO, he should be able to make himself out of there, especially with the Timber Chain. Be able to provide that mobility. Jukes out the Burrow Strike coming out, the Hoostorm coming out from Tiny Tiger. The Blink Burrows there from Angel. UGTFO just commits suicide. Buys enough time for Ken to be able to make it on out there, says earn this and runs out. Ken actually thought about doubling back with that haste rune. It's anybody's game at this point. The next fight really is going to determine it, especially since, although that being said, buyback is available for both the cores. So nah mate as well as Meow, they both have buyback available. Although Meow, going for Boots of Travel actually doesn't have enough gold to be the buyback. He cannot afford to let himself get caught out of position. 67 minutes into the game. Game 1, nah mate will able to leverage a very quick and fairly one-sided game. Game 2, Ace, they're bringing their A game. And things are looking fairly grim for nah mate. Especially in terms of map control. There's actually no wards available for either side. The only wards being placed so far are aggressive wards being placed by the Dire. That's about to wear off as well. And those Roshan wards can be fairly useless apart from spawning out Rune. Angel now has a BKB of his own. And so UGTFO, his teamfight contribution is going to be throw Chakrams, cry. Because everybody has a BKB. Lance, the only one that doesn't have a BKB. Since Centaur Warrior, he doesn't necessarily need one just because he's so incredibly tanky. It looks like he's going for another harder Tarrasque. Would have actually preferred if he went for something like a Sheep Stick. So he could provide some utility. Or if he decides to go for a damage item. But that being said, Hearts Rusk might as well be considered damage item for the Centaur Warrunner. But overall, the Sheep Stickler provided a lot more killing power because what they're lacking right now is the ability to lock down and control Meow outside of the black hole. So having the Blink Hex over a Meow, instantly follow through with the Hoof Stomp, then the Double Edge should be enough lockdown. They don't have to commit the black hole, and they can then use the black hole on somebody else. But 2 Hearts picked up on Centaur Warrunner. He's now effectively a raid boss. Zhao actually caught a bit far in position, but it was a trap. Says Ace, High Fish coming in with King Killer, instantly is able to bail out the rest of his teammates. Huge plays coming from them, but High Fish comes in with the secondary black hole. That's going to be game for Name. They're not able to recover from this. King Killer now caught completely on his own. Buyback flies out. Buyback is not available for Meow. And High Fish able to do it with a little bit of help from Zhao. Zhao being the bait. Catches him in. And the snowball coming up from King Killer was able to save him from the first black hole. The secondary black hole coming up from High Fish. The refresher orb really saving them that game. Massive black hole coming up from him, so making up for the last PGG level 1. Tiny Tiger goes over in UGTFO, not going to be enough to catch him, he's just out of range. And eats a Chakra for his trouble. 4.5k HP, I don't think UGTFO can kill him if he tried. At least without a good 10-20 seconds. And going over and Jolly punch him in the face, they might be able to delay this for as long as possible. But without Meow there, without the lockdown coming up from Rogue, it's going to be difficult. King Killer. So then inside the Mystic Flare, eating it like it was candy with the Ancient Seal there as well. Icepath flies over and High Fish. High Fish actually walks back into it. UGTFO, that's fine to kill over and Lance. They are actually might be able to find mega kills, they are able to get it. So mega creeps are now online for Ace. Yeah, no mate. They're digging in their teeth. They say you want our Rex, come and get them. But they're fighting a losing battle. They gave up too much. And the net worth is finally going in favor of Ace. 7,500 gold in their hands. About 3,000 experience lead. Things are looking grimmer and grimmer. But that being said, highly action-packed game. 118 kills in 70 minutes. Great plays coming up from both teams. At High Fish, that last double black hole really did put them in the commanding lead of the game. Necronomicon now coming online for UGTFO, so the only way that Name can try to turn this is a Hail Mary push. If they're able to wipe them, BOT into a lane, go right for throw. They can't even afford to go for Megas. But the drawback of their lineups, they don't have a late game hero that can sit there and clear out Mega Creeps the same way a PA could, like they had in the last game. And so the Queen of Pain pickup, really questionable. While Meow did actually beat Zhao in terms of the laning phase, he was actually able to find a fair few kills and actually got more CS. It's just the fact that the Queen of Pain, she could only carry if she's significantly more farmed than the other cores. And in this case, she's just not having it. Meow wasn't able to find as much farm as he needed. Because they took that engagement before Kin and Meow had BKBs and then took that fight. The 32-minute mark, I believe it was. That was really what messed up the momentum of Name and what potentially cost them the game. But they just weren't able to recover from that point. They were always fighting against the double blink initiation coming from Ace. It took them too long to go for BKBs, and while this in their farming, Ace were able to farm out the next set of items as well. So Name, they really needed to have a better game plan, trying to end the game in the first 30 minutes. Or at least try to breach high ground so they put themselves in such a good position that they could afford to back off and go for more and farm. They do lose that first Rax, but Zhao's now back into the fray. And Meow doing what he can, playing very far forward. He's got the BKB and the Blink Dagger available. They might actually be able to take their second to the Rax. Especially since Zhao... actually Meow's caught him with the Hoof Stomp, wants the Double Edge, and the Burrow Strike, and this looks like game. Cox caught him with a one-man black hole. King Killer runs in, walks into the epicenter, says, I immediately regret my decision. Broda as well, Mystic Flare being used. And this time, no buyback available for the boys of Name. They risked it all, one game of a chance, and GG well played being called 72 minutes into the game. Ace are able to end the series 1-1, so this is the best of 2 series. What a series it was, UGTFO. Now it looks like he's going to be taking a death, but it looks like they're throwing floats in time. So game number 2 really does boil down to the fact that, Name, they got a little bit cocky, the Tuskar pickup and the Queen of Pain. If they'd picked up 2 cores that scaled much better on the later stages of the game, so the Tuskar, while he created a fantastic amount of space for his team in the early stages, it's just the fact that he doesn't scale that well into the late game. The only hero he could reliably kill in these fights was Lance, unless the hero is locked to hell. The Ogre Magi, while a very powerful support hero, just wasn't able to find any semblance of farm at all. It was completely shut down, died in every single engagement. And UGTFO, while the Timbersaw is a very powerful offlane hero that scales well into the late game, he's a very timing specific hero. You want to get your Aghanim Scepter before BKBs come online. You want to end the game or put yourself in a good enough position that you can end the game before BKBs come online, because after they get 2-3 BKBs on their core heroes, So the Enigma, the Templar Assassin, and maybe the Centaur. Usually TFO can't really do anything. He can go on the back line, but you really want to deal with the TA. So they had no answer for the TA. And so it boils down to the drafting decisions coming out from Name. But that being said, High Fish and Gel, fantastic performance coming out from them. Angel, some great Blink Bar initiations coming out from him. And Tiny Tiger, well, his Blink Hoof Stomp was sometimes a little bit off. The split pushing presence he was able to apply to the top lane really helped them turn around that game. If he hadn't been there earlier to be able to provide that presence and take out that Tier 2 and almost destroy the Tier 3, Ace wouldn't have been able to instantly take 2 sets of racks the way they did. So that looks like it for tonight. I'm FortyeniN, community shoutcaster for the UGC League, for the Eastern Invite, as well as the Australia-New Zealand Iron League. If you have enjoyed tonight's broadcast, do follow and subscribe to the UGC channel. There's actually 5 channels, the UGC League 1 through to 5, each covering a different division. So for UGC League 1, I believe it's covering the North American division as well as the Eastern Invite. So that'll be it for tonight. I'm FortyeniN. You can follow me on Twitter at FortyeniNDota. Otherwise, that'll be it for now. Have a good night. Thanks for listening.